Washington, more Democrats are considering the option of impeaching President Trump.
The fact of the matter is, I think that when you look at this report, you can see that there's enough information to move forward with impeachment on this president.
What is the best thing for the country? It may be that we undertake an impeachment nonetheless.
If proven, some of this would be impeachable, yes.
All right.
Obstruction of justice, if proven, would be impeachable.
If we did not win, possibly, if there were not impeachment, what is going to happen is that the president is going to be emboldened.
Republicans say the Mueller report vindicates the president and proves there are no grounds for impeachment.
There was no collusion. It isn't there. Not a scintilla of evidence supports that. So it's time to move on.
President Trump agrees. He tweeted, "Only high crimes and misdemeanors can lead to impeachment. There were no crimes by me, no collusion, no obstruction, so you can't impeach. It was the Democrats that committed the crimes, not your Republican president."
All of you, how do you see this moment that we're in ending? In what scenario does this end? Is it a matter of election or something more calamitous or dramatic?
The intensity of what's going on at the moment, the speed at which things are happening, is very unstable. I don't know, something is going to blow. This is, when a machine is running as badly as this, something's going to blow.
Many people are disturbed and worried about what's going on in the Trump White House. We need to wake up and address it.
Bob Woodward, legendary reporter for The Washington Post, is out with a new book that has President Trump enraged.
This idiot Woodward who wrote this book, which is all fiction.
This is a war on truth. The president is saying things are a certain way when they are visibly and provably the opposite.
And in that scathing New York Times op-ed by an anonymous senior official, that there is a quiet resistance within the administration working against the president to protect the country.
I think you're subverting the will of the people, trying to prevent him from doing the job that he was elected to do by the people.
This is not the first time that Bob Woodward has tangled with a commander-in-chief. He's covered 9 presidents, even helping bring down Richard Nixon by breaking the Watergate story.
Well, I'm not a crook.
He was immortalized on film by Robert Redford in the movie All the President's Men.
You can trust me, you know that. Just follow the money.
Now, Woodward has turned his attention to President Trump, recording, he says, hundreds of hours of interviews with first-hand sources for his new book, Fear, Trump in the White House. He calls his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, and I'm quoting here, mentally retarded. He's this dumb Southerner. He compares his now former Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus, to a rat. Is this generally the way a president talks about the people around him?
There are lots of things said by Nixon about people which are quite insulting. A White House administration and cabinet needs to somehow be a team, needs to work together. And they're all fighting each other. They are chaos creators.
The book opens with a scene that Woodward describes as an administrative coup d'etat.
It's part of the breakdown of the presidency in the Trump era.
Woodward calls it a nervous breakdown, staff joining together to purposefully block some of what they believed were the president's most dangerous impulses. The book also portrays a president who seems dangerously uninformed, incurious, or immovable.
Professor Lawrence Tribe, Harvard Law professor, constitutional scholar, co-author of the new book, To End a Presidency.
If the evidence that Robert Mueller is collecting forms a kind of compelling case that a overwhelming bipartisan majority of the American people find convincing that this guy is just too dangerous to keep in power, then we do have the emergency power of impeachment available. But it will be available only if we don't use it loosely and kind of ring the bell every time something looks amiss. You can't be the boy who cried wolf and expect to have a viable impeachment power. You can't use it over and over again against the same president.
Right.
And that requires an overwhelming majority of a bipartisan kind. Otherwise, you're just going to nick the guy and make him feel empowered and vindicated.
The growing chasm between the president and the wayward DOJ comes as more on the radical left are calling for the president's impeachment, an idea the president's attorney, Rudy Giuliani, says would not sit well with the American people.
I think impeachment would be totally horrible. I mean, there's no reason. He didn't collude with the Russians. He didn't obstruct justice. Everything Cohen says has been disproved. You'd only impeach him for political reasons, and the American people would revolt against that.
This sign in Maryland that's getting a lot of attention. It tells liberals to get if they try to impeach President Trump.
Billboard that is quite literally turning heads. Hey, liberals, it shouts, better get if you try to impeach President Trump from all your deplorables in Calvert County. Well, talk about a divided highway. Listen to some of the comments we're hearing.
I love the billboard. We're conservative, and there's a lot of corruption that's happened in this country.
Well, I think this sign sort of shows where our body politic is at the moment. You hear a lot of members on Capitol Hill, especially some of the Republican moderates who are retiring, saying, you know, we have just gotten too far in terms of rhetoric. Republicans and Democrats can't even sort of sit down at the table anymore and have a normal conversation about where the common ground is that we might agree on. And I think that's sort of what that sign displays to me. Now, it sounds like it was in someone's private property. There are a lot of people in the area who were complaining about it, some saying that they like it, some saying they don't. And I think it just reveals how divided the country is right now.
But the sign's not going anywhere,
No,
to be clear, right?
It appears that it's in public, or it's in private property, excuse me. So that's why the cops are like, we can't do anything about this.
I'll predict, if it happens, there will be a civil war in the United States of America. The Christians will finally come out of the shadows, because we are going to permanently, if we're not careful. And God says, faith without works, we have to do things.
Fear claims to take the reader inside the White House during key moments of the Trump presidency, including the aftermath of Trump's reaction to the march in Charlottesville. After his initial comments, in which the president appeared to go soft on, created an uproar,
we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry on many sides.
the president was persuaded to deliver a second, more conciliatory speech.
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs.
Trump watched Fox News and saw that someone said, well, this speech was a course correction. And soon Trump was talking about that was the effingest worst speech I ever gave. The next day he went back to his original position that the problem here is both sides.
My fear is actually, if the crowds keep mobilizing, if there are large numbers of people on the street, some law and order official somewhere is going to lose their cool.
The president slumped back in his chair and said, quote, "Oh my God, this is terrible. This is the end of my presidency. I'm effed." The president became angry and lambasted the attorney general for his decision to recuse from the investigation, stating, "How could you let this happen, Jeff?" The president said the position of attorney general was his most important appointment and that Sessions had, quote, "let him down," contrasting him to Eric Holder and Robert Kennedy. Sessions recalled that the president said to him, quote, "You were supposed to protect me."
You thought the Mueller report was the end. It really just might be the beginning. House Democrats have issued a subpoena today to obtain the full report, all the underlying evidence, and zero redactions. And Democrats are now faced with the question of what to do next. After Robert Mueller made it clear he found no direct evidence of any member of the Trump team conspiring with Russia to criminally interfere with the 2016 election, while also describing numerous incidents of potential obstruction of justice by the president, and simultaneously painting a devastating picture of a White House and a presidency beset by chaos and prevarication. A president saved perhaps only by the DOJ guidelines to not indict a sitting president, and the president's own staff's refusal to carry out his direct orders sometimes. As one senior administration official put it to me this afternoon, reacting to the report, quote, that the president makes absurd demands of his staff and administration officials who are alarmed by them and reluctant to follow them is not only unsurprising, but has become the norm. Today, an angry President Trump called the statements made about him in the, quote, crazy Mueller report fabricated and totally untrue and, quote, total BS, although he didn't say BS. It's a report that we should note was in part based on interviews with true Trump insiders such as Don McGahn and Stephen Miller, Hope Hicks, Corey Lewandowski, Steve Bannon, Reince Priebus, and on and on. Those insiders telling the special counsel under oath, a special counsel who sends people to jail for lying to him, about all the times President Trump lied to the American people.
The collusion delusion is over. Total exoneration, complete vindication. The crazy attempt by the Democrat Party and the fake news media right back there. Little pencil neck Adam Schiff. He's got the smallest, thinnest neck I've ever seen. And this group of major losers did not just ruthlessly attack me, my family, and everyone who questioned their lies. They tried to divide our country, to poison the national debate, and to tear up the fabric of our great democracy, the greatest anywhere in the world. The Democrats have to now decide whether they will continue defrauding the public with ridiculous bullshit. They say the elite. They're the elite. I'm not. Well, I have a better education than them. I'm smarter than them. I went to the best schools. They didn't. Much more beautiful house. Much more beautiful apartment. Much more beautiful everything. And I'm president and they're not, right?